Welcome back to the Man Cave. I'm Reed. This is Man Cave Guitar Pedal Mania. In this video, I'm taking a look at the latest addition to my pedal board, the amazing Boss GT1000 Core. I didn't really pay much attention to the Boss GT1000 when it came out. I already had a pedal board after all. I already owned the Boss RV500 and DD500, and I didn't really want a big floorboard. But when they came out with a unit that has all of the power of the big Boss GT1000, including all of the guts from the RV500, the DD500, the MD500, probably their overdrive and equalizer pedals as well, and yet it fits into the same footprint as the RV500, yeah, that was more than I could pass up, so I had to check it out. I've been out of the modeler game for a while. I never liked the Line 6 Pod, way back in the day. I did eventually own a Pod HD. Pod 500? No, I don't remember what it was called. I didn't really like it. Never got used to it. I prefer just having an amplifier and individual pedals. Of course, it's been a long time. Technology has come a long way, and I was shocked at how much I like the amplifiers in the GT1000 Core. I had thought about getting a Line 6 HX Stomp. Those are really popular, widely available. But the GT1000 Core had a big advantage in my opinion, and that is it has two insert loops. The HX Stomp just has one. So while the GT1000 Core has a ton of effects, I also run into one loop my TC Electronic Plethora X5 and into the other an Eventide H9. Those three items combined for one astoundingly powerful and very flexible setup. I control it all with my Boss loop switcher. I know some people are die-hard brand loyalists, and I have no opinion on whether the amps in the GT1000 Core sound as good or better than the ones in the HX Stomp. I don't have an HX Stomp. All I know is that I really like the sounds that I get from the GT1000 Core. Now at its heart, this unit or any modeler is a computer. Computers are best used by people who know how to program them. So I was a little underwhelmed with the factory presets. Almost everybody is always underwhelmed with factory presets. So I wanted other presets. Now this unit is infinitely tweakable, but I wasn't necessarily thrilled with my own attempt to make patches. And then I discovered that there's a community out there trading patches for free. Boss has hundreds of free patches available, and there are even people selling patches. Two YouTubers that put out some free patches are the Studio Rats and Guitar Emerge. Guitar Emerge are a unit from Singapore. I have two patches of theirs, an ambient clean and a crunch, and the Studio Rats have what they call the ultimate breakup patch and just the ultimate patch, which I think of as a high gain patch. I'm going to show you how to find patches on Boss's Tone Central and then demonstrate some of those patches, not all of them because there are hundreds, but some of my favorites, as well as the patches that I downloaded from the Studio Rats and Guitar Emerge, and you can hear what those sound like. So first, here's a little video on how to download the software and how to load in patches into your Core library. So the Boss has a ton of free patches available for the GT1000 Core and for its other products, but you're going to need their software to get it. If you do not have the software installed, let's do that first. You can just go to the search engine of your choice and type in Boss Tone Studio for the GT1000 Core. See, it auto-fills here for me. First page is an advertisement page. You can ignore that. Go to Updates and Drivers for Boss. GT1000. It also works for the GT1000 Core. The first thing you're going to want is Boss Tone Studio. You can see you've got a Windows and a Mac version. And then if you're going to be using your own IRs, you'll also want to get the IR loader. I've connected my Boss GT1000 core by a USB cable to my computer and open up the Boss Tone Studio software. It opens up to the last preset that I had loaded into the editor. Now on the left side you see all of the user presets, and if you click on preset, it's all of the factory presets. Now I've seen a lot of videos going over the various factory presets, so I'm not going to bother to do that. But instead, let's say you've seen some of those videos and you think, well, you don't want deep shimmer reverb, all you want is a good Fender sound. Can the GT1000 core do that? Well, as a matter of fact, it can. Let's click back here on user. Okay. So at the top you have editor, librarian, and Tone Central. Click on Tone Central. And here is a truly astounding collection of free patches. And right at the top, Amp Starter Collection, SC for single coils, HB for humbuckers. I prefer humbucker guitars, so we're going to click on that. And here are all the amp simulations native to the GT1000 and GT1000 core. So it starts off with the Boss amps that are not particularly modeled after any specific product. And then there's a Jazz Chorus, the Fender Twin, Fender Deluxe. Not sure what the Tweed models necessarily. The Diamond, that would be Vox. You have a Marshall, you have a Rectifier, Matchless, Orange, the Bogner Uberschall, and an acoustic simulator. So if you just want to get a Fender Twin, there you go, the Fender Twin combo amp for humbuckers. Also, they have a lot of presets by various artists. Now, most of these people, I am not familiar with their music, but I do enjoy going through their presets. Jack Gardner has some great presets in his Modern Versatility set. Perhaps you're familiar with shredder Andy James. There's a preset of his that I really love. We'll be showing that later. I am unfamiliar with Mr. Thomas McRockland, but I love his demonstration video, and he's got some great patches. I was really excited to see patches by Steve Lukather and Marty Friedman, but it turns out that these patches aren't actually for the GT1000 core. They were made on an older unit, and while they still work, honestly, they're not that great. Whereas patches by Simon McBride are really, really good. So whenever you found a set that you like, you just click Add, and it puts the entire live set into your librarian. So if we click on Librarian, here you can see all of the live sets that I've added to my unit. There's the Jay Leonard collection, the GT1000 Extra Collection 2, etc. So what if we just start over here with Modern Versatility? I'm going to scroll down below the patches I actually use here. So say number 174, JC120 flat. I don't need that, but I want low gain lead. All you have to do is click and drag. When it's highlighted, it just copies right over. Now it seems unlikely that you would go through all of those patches and not find something that you really like. But let's say that that is the case. There are a lot of people, both on forums and some YouTubers, that are putting out great patches. Some of them you pay for and some of them are free. I'm just going to look at a couple of free sets. There's an outfit in Singapore called Guitar Emerge, and the Studio Rats, who I believe are in Canada. Don't quote me on that. So what if you want to add some presets that are not in Tone Central? Well, again, we go up here to the top. You click this, that is the import button.
you've got import from File, and here it pulls up the Guitar Emerge presets, Clean Ambient and X Crunch. And as I've already put those in my system, I won't reload them. So as you can see, there are hundreds and hundreds of presets available. I'm not even going to attempt to look at all of them, but what I am going to do is just show you 8 presets that I've located that I really like.
One last bit of talking before I get to the sound samples. I was recently watching a video log from Mick at That Pedal Show where he was talking about how hard it is to really know how something sounds in videos because of all of the variables. Not just guitar and amplifier and player, but also microphone distance. Are you using in-room mics or are you using a direct recording setup? What kind of post-recording processing are you doing? So I thought I would go through my setup here, and it's unlikely that anybody has this exact same setup, but you certainly could. It's all easily available equipment. So my Boss GT1000 core is going in to the return of this amplifier. That is an orange 20 watt Terror. It's a tube amplifier. Going through the effects return bypasses the preamp section, and I'm just using the power amp. It comes out of the amplifier and goes into this Rivera Rock Crusher load box. Now I use that for 2 reasons. One is I keep my in-room volume very, very low. I have some hearing loss and I'm very protective of what hearing I have left. In fact, you might be able to hear the strings on my guitar, which I understand is perhaps a no-no, but that's the way it goes. The other thing I use it for is it has a line out that I then run to my audio interface. So you're getting a pretty pure signal into the front of the computer. My audio interface is just a garden variety Focusrite, I think a Scarlett 2i2. I record in Ableton, and I don't do any other post-processing, primarily because I have no idea how. Maybe I'll learn someday, but it's not real high on my list of interests. So when I record videos, I do have sound coming from this Yamaha 2x12 cabinet, and I generally mix the sound from the cabinet and what I record direct into the computer, but sometimes I only use the computer sound. It depends. I'm trying to keep the sound levels more consistent. Alright, so for our videos, as you can see over my right shoulder, I have the GT1000 core. The big number is just the number of the patch I have it on, obviously. Now the core has a lot of functionality in that little box. You can set it up so that each of the buttons along the bottom, those are function buttons, control buttons, can turn effects on and off, or you can use it to scroll up and down through the presets. The blue lights indicate that it is set to scroll up and down between the presets. I've got it set like that so that you can see the name of the patch more clearly. That provides the largest display. However, on some of the patches I will demonstrate what Control 1 does. Usually it's overdrive, but sometimes it's another effect. I'll be recording my sound samples with this G&L Legacy. That way you can hear both single coil and humbucker sounds, and you may be surprised at the difference between the two through the GT1000 core. So for reference, this is what it sounds like with absolutely nothing. Not a lot going on, as you would expect. Now I'm going to start with one of the Boss amp models. This is the Boutique amp. I presume that is their Dumble-esque amplifier. Very nice. You can hear it's got a little reverb set up there, but it's not a complicated patch. Now, if I press Control 1, kicks in overdrive. Okay. And here's what it sounds like with the bridge humbucker. Everything else set exactly the same. As you can hear, that hotter humbucker gives it just a little bit of growl in the front. So I really like that. So this is the orange model native to the Boss GT1000 core. I'm on my neck pickup. And bridge. Okay, go back to the neck. And this is the orange in high gain mode. And the bridge in high gain mode. I really like that orange high gain for a 70s rock kind of sound, old Black Sabbath or Deep Purple. Now I'm going to switch to the Simon McBride Clean Patch. This again is a patch that I got from Boss's Tone Central on the neck single coil. And on the bridge humbucker. The patch is very dynamic. In this patch, instead of being an overdrive, if I push that control switch, it kicks in some modulation. This is back to the next single coil. Very nice. Now for some clean contrast. This is the Lo-Fi Clean from Boss Tone Central. I think of it as a warped vinyl kind of sound. It's got some vibrato on it for a pretty aggressive pitch shift. This is the neck pickup again. And the bridge humbucker. And you can hear the delay. This one kind of reminds me of some Tom Petty. Don't want to get any copyright violations. Now here's a higher gain patch. This is from the Thomas McLaughlin collection. He calls it Tight Tight. His video says that it's a rhythm sound that doesn't take up much sonic space. Bjorn there, for anybody that's a Bjorn fan. I really like that patch. It's not really what I think of as a rhythm sound, but it does in fact sound great. So it gives kind of an 80s, sort of a Dio-esque vibe, and I dig it. Alright, and then the last of the Boss Tone Central patches that I downloaded. If you remember from the video, I said there's an Andy James patch that I really love. Now, I have no idea what Andy James uses this patch for, but this is the AJ filter. It tracks really well, and it just goes on and on and on and on. I think that's a really cool sound. All right. Let's switch over to the patches that I got from Guitar Emerge. So their first one they call Clean Ambient. Lots of space. Just going to do that one on the neck. And this is X Crunch from Guitar Emerge. Here's the neck. Let's go to the bridge. Different those are. Again, I didn't touch anything except for my pickup. The guitar is at the same volume, all the tone settings are the same, haven't touched the pedal. Neck, bridge, neck, bridge. So, great dynamics. But then for me, really the star of these are the patches that I downloaded from the Studio Rats. Oops. So they call this their ultimate breakup patch. This is on the neck pickup again. And then if I go to the bridge, okay, sounds fantastic. And again, very dynamic between the two patches. And then finally, what they call the ultimate patch. I think of it as a high gain tone. I'm just doing this on the bridge humbucker. I've been using this patch for everything. Now, I always say, as a home player, I don't really worry about, sitting in with a mix or anything like that. But I do like playing along to records, and the sound of this patch just is so easy to hear when I'm listening to the music I like to play along with, which is primarily rock from the 90s. Oasis, Alice in Chains, Smashing Pumpkins. And this patch works for basically any kind of 90s hard rock. that's not from the 90s, but the guy from the Studio Rats always plays that lick when he does his videos. So there you go. That's just a quick tone taste of some, again, free patches. Now, of course, you do have to buy a GT1000 core. They're not cheap, but for what you get, I think they are phenomenally cheap. It is an RV500, a DD500, an MD500, their EQ pedal, their distortion pedal, plus amp simulators, cabinets. It's got virtual miking capabilities, tons and tons of effects. It is an astounding little unit. It does way more than I will ever know how to do with it, and that is why I am grateful that people who are good in the studio have made patches for me to try out. I mean, the unit's got parametric EQ, it's got graphic EQ, noise suppressors, gain staging. You can make it sound like anything you want. So maybe this will inspire you to check out some of these patches. Again, you can't beat the price if you already own a GT1000 core or a GT1000. And there are lots of other places to acquire patches. I just chose these because they're patches that I really like, and I wanted to demonstrate things that I enjoy. If you have a GT1000 or GT1000 core and you have some patches, put links in the description. I'd love to check them out. So I hope that you've found this interesting. I'll be putting up more video content in the relatively near future. But until then, I've been Reed. This is Man Cave Guitar Pedal Mania.